This latest Helldivers 2 patch shook up the meta in a really great way in my opinion. Nothing was really nerfed, but many stratagems and weapons were buffed, which added many great options. At the same time, some new threats are in the game, mainly Behemoth Chargers and Gunship Patrols. So I just wanted to do a quick tips and tricks guide on some great stuff to use this patch, at least only 2 days after the patch has been out. I have a machine gun and assault rifle tier list coming soon, so be sure to like and subscribe, and we could dive straight into the channel's sponsor, Instant Gaming. Now, Instant Gaming, if you didn't know, is an awesome website where you can get video games for much cheaper than what they are listed for. Right now, through the 23rd, they're doing their El Dorado summer sales, where you can get up to 85% off of many different games like Ready or Not, Fallout 76, No Rest for the Wicked, Tekken 8, and many others. And click the other link in the description to enter the video game giveaway that they host for my channel, where you could win any game of your choice. So with that out of the way, there will be tons of timestamps in this video of what we're covering today. Let's start off this video by talking about Behemoth Chargers. Super beefy chargers that take 2 anti-tank shots to the head to kill. Now, personally, I like this addition to the game. There are way more probably too many Behemoth Chargers spawning, by the way, that might get tuned down. But there are more of these, and there are less Bile Titans from what I've noticed. And I'm just gonna say that I'd rather fight a Behemoth Charger than a Bile Titan, so I'm enjoying it. However, they are pretty ammo inefficient when it comes to anti-tank rounds. And I've learned not to target the head. Now, the 2 best spots to kill Behemoth Chargers are either unloading into their butts with like some sort of machine gun, or targeting their legs with your heavy penetrating weapons. Don't waste any time on their heads, in my opinion. Their heads feel tankier than Bile Titan heads, just straight up. But when aiming at their legs with any weapon that can pierce it, it feels much better. So in this section, we're gonna be covering a mix of things from the Railgun, the Eagle Strafing Run, the Orbital Gatling Barrage, and the Flamethrower. Now, notably, they do still take 2 anti-tank rounds to the leg to strip the armor, but I'm gonna give you guys some tips to work around that. Now, first off, the Railgun, because in my opinion, the Railgun is back when it comes to bugs. It's a part of the meta again. At least I'm gonna be running it. If you guys don't believe me, come check out some of my streams. I've already ran some Railgun and some squad settings, sort of as a support weapon, and it feels really good. Now, the main reason I think it's back is because with Behemoth Chargers, it takes 3 shots, unsafe mode, to the leg to strip the armor. It's much more ammo efficient against Behemoth Chargers than anti-tank launchers, for example, and 3 shots doesn't take so long to do. The other great change with the Railgun was right here. Bile Titan heads are slightly less durable, so that guns like the Railgun can damage them better. You can actually kind of reasonably kill a Bile Titan with a Railgun if you find yourself separated from your team and you're running around solo. Now, keep in mind that this is a bit inconsistent. There is a known bug that is in the patch notes that Bile Titan heads sometimes don't take damage. Now, a lot of people already know this because I posted a video a long time ago that you don't want to shoot the Bile Titan while it's spitting, and you pretty much want to aim for the forehead at all time. Once this change gets fixed, the Railgun will feel even better. But this is one of the reasons the Railgun is back as a support weapon. Number 1 for Behemoth Chargers, but number 2 because it takes 1 Railgun shot and 1 anti-tank shot to kill Bile Titan. So my teammate, for example, was running the Quasar Cannon, myself with the Railgun, and we were taking down Bile Titans left and right. And the same goes for those Charger Behemoth legs. If someone on your team brings an anti-tank round, just communicate with them or run with them, see what leg they shoot, and follow it up with a Railgun shot. It'll take 1 anti-tank and 1 Railgun shot to strip Behemoth Charger legs as well. However, as expected, the Flamethrower is still insane against Chargers and Behemoth Chargers. It is the best solo weapon for taking out Charger Behemoths. Other than those 2 weapons, I honestly recommend using stun grenades and just blast their ass with machine guns. I think the medium machine gun is very solid and probably the best of the support weapons against bugs right now, with the increased mob density and less Bile Titans. It's not the most efficient weapon for Chargers at all, and it probably does pretty much require stun grenades, but it will get the job done, and it's very strong against the giant swarms as well as Bile Spewers now, and in general, it's a lot better. But let's quickly talk about the Orbital Gatling Barrage and the Eagle Strafing Run. I've been messing around with a Railgun build, which runs Railgun, Eagle Strafing Run, Orbital Gatling Barrage, and a supply pack, and I'm acting as a support for my team. What's great about the Strafing Run and the Orbital Gatling Barrage is they fit a very similar role as the Railgun. They take small hits out of heavy armored enemies, but they are also pretty decent for mobbing. The best part is the short cooldown, so I'm always just chucking these off cooldown non-stop. Eagle Strafing Run is also very good at taking out Shrieker Nests and Spore Spewers, so there is some utility with it. Now, one very cool thing I'd like to show with the Eagle Strafing Run is if you line it up right, you can use one anti-tank round and an Eagle Strafing Run to straight up kill a Bile Titan. It's basically the perfect support paired with the anti-tank rounds to take out big enemies. So if you still want to use the Quasar Cannon, you still want to use a Recoilless Rifle, then probably take an Eagle Strafing Run with it if you don't have a Railgunner on your team. And the same can be said about Charger Behemoth legs. Like I said, don't really mess around too much with their head. Their heads are actually very tanky. Shoot an anti-tank into the leg, then line up an Eagle Strafing Run to the same leg, and you can finish it after that with your primary. Or just be like me and just spam the Strafing Run and the Gatling Barrage, peppering the whole field and basically making the enemy threats a lot weaker and overall supporting your squad. I think both of these stratagems are in an amazing spot where on their own, they're not that great, they're not insanely strong, but as support stratagems and when combined with other things and using some strategy, that's where they become very powerful, and they have insanely short cooldowns, so they're very easy to use, and you get to use a lot of them. Now, one quick side note is that the Recoilless Rifle reload speed was nerfed by 1.5 seconds, but luckily a dev evil boss in the Discord confirmed that this was actually a bug, and they will be looking to fix it. Now, it's possible they reverted a lot of stuff to patch 1 to make the game feel better, so this probably was unintentional. I believe the Recoilless Rifle actually did have a slower reload speed on launch, and I'm really looking forward to this being fixed. Otherwise, let's talk about rocket pods, because they have been working pretty great for me. They strip the back armor off of Bile Titans pretty consistently, and it can even sometimes one-shot them, although that's pretty rare. The way you want to use rocket pods is you want to treat them as an easier to use sort of precision strike. You want the Bile Titan to stay near the red beam while it's being called in. If they wander a bit too far away, the rocket pods can target something else, so try to bait them into an attack and throw it down. They have a pretty quick call-in time anyway. But once their back armor is stripped, you can finish them off with a durable primary. The Dominator is great for this, Plasma Punisher, Scorcher. You can even use impact grenades or your grenade pistol to finish off Bile Titans like this. And the Orbital Precision Strike's faster call-in time also makes it undeniably an amazing stratagem for taking out Bile Titans as well. But keep in mind, they don't call this the Precision Strike for no reason. You will have to bait the Titan again into attacking or standing still. Now, I'm bringing up these two stratagems not only because they were buffed this patch, but because Rocket Pods has 3 charges. So even though it doesn't usually one-shot the Bile Titan, you do have to finish it off, it can deal with up to 3 Bile Titans before going on cooldown. And the Orbital Precision Strike just has a short cooldown. These could possibly be the only anti-Titan stratagem you bring in a Flamethrower loadout as your anti-Titan tool. I have noticed less Titan spawning in my opinion. Now, of course, depending on your luck and the map, a lot more than that can spawn. But in a squad loadout where other people are bringing anti-tank stuff, I probably would only bring one anti-tank option like the rocket pods with me in a flamethrower loadout. And I really do think the flamethrower is shining right now since it takes out chargers with ease and tons of mobbing. And that is pretty much what the Terminids are made of right now. So let's go ahead and move on over to the bot side of things and the Gunship Patrols. Now, again, personally, I love the change with the Gunship Patrols. It makes the game insane. However, I will admit one downside is that it has reinforced the meta a bit against bots. You pretty much want to always bring one of these 4 weapons against gunships, either the anti-material rifle, the laser cannon, the autocannon, or the heavy machine gun. If you want to use the spear, you can, but with the amount of Gunship Patrols, I think it's a bit weaker. Now, since the heavy machine gun got a major buff this patch, it feels over 100% better. I'm going to be focusing on the heavy machine gun for this quick discussion. Most of you guys already know how strong the anti-material rifle, the laser cannon, and the autocannon are for gunships. Just make sure you're aiming for an engine. Now, the heavy machine gun got a 50% base damage buff as well as a 50% durable damage buff, and it got an improved reload time. Notably, it didn't get a larger magazine size increase, which is actually one way I wanted them to buff it. But what I will say is the higher damage combined with the reload speed buff means that your uptime for the heavy machine gun, if you are accurate with it, is incredibly insane, and it feels incredibly powerful against bots. Now, it takes roughly 9 bullets to the engine of a gunship to reliably take it down. And one tip for anybody who wants to enjoy the heavy machine gun is you want to crouch, stay still, and follow around the recoil circle rather than the crosshair, or at least put the crosshair where your first couple bullets are going, but start to follow around this recoil circle and use that to aim and try to drag the recoil with it. And I found this method to be the most reliable when using this gun, and I was getting the most hit markers this way on gunships and taking them out the fastest this way. Keep in mind, you need to focus one single engine, but sometimes, in some cases, the gunship will sway and change directions. If you need to quickly transfer to a different engine, go ahead and do that. Just find the quickest way to take them out. Try to focus most of your damage on one engine and you will find them going down in just a couple seconds. Now, in terms of primary weapons for gunships, I think the Scorcher is the best and really the only reliable option against them. I tested out the Dominator, the Eruptor, and the Purifier as well. None of them felt as reliable or as fast as the Scorcher for taking out gunships. Now, if you're running one of the support weapons I mentioned, just use that support weapon. You don't need to bring a Scorcher with you for gunships at all. But if you want to run a different support weapon other than those, then I think you probably do want to run the Scorcher. Now, with the Scorcher, you actually want to target the bottom of the center of their mass rather than an engine. I know this one sounds a bit weird, but the Scorcher bullet is actually light penetrating. It doesn't damage the gunships at all. What does damage them is the plasma explosion, because the plasma explosion is medium penetrating. And I found that you can consistently take them out in about a magazine, but you know, I'll miss a few shots. Usually it's a bit over a magazine. What I will say is I hope they buff the Purifier's damage, because the medium penetrating impact damage wasn't enough in my opinion. It's not worth taking over the Scorcher still. The reason I'm bringing up the Purifier is because if we do see them buff the damage of it in the next patch or something, it could actually end up being one of the best bot weapons, as it has a giant radius. It's great for taking out heat sinks, and it would then take out gunships very, very fast. But for now, until they buff the damage, it's staying on the shelf in my ship at least. Now, another stratagem I'd like to give a shout out to against robots and against the Gunship Patrols is the little rocket sentry that could. They increase the fire rate on this thing, and it has a sustained amount of rockets that it spams at enemies. And if you find a good spot to put this in, it lasts a very long time if you can keep it alive. Now, luckily, they increase the range to apparently 100 meters. So if you practice with this and find a really good spot to put it in where it's not being targeted, at least too easily, it can actually take out gunships in 2 shots. However, like in this next clip I'm going to be showing you guys, the gunships were swaying, it was swapping targets. It took a bit longer because it was hitting different engines. But even in this clip where it was being inefficient, I still think it did a pretty solid job. And overall, if it's damaging gunships, maybe at the same time as you are, it's a really great support options. I think it's a combination tool yet again, except in this case, it often can do heavy lifting if it lands a couple accurate shots on the gunships. Like I said, it can take them out in 2 shots. Now, I do think the rocket sentry will take a bit of getting used to. You're gonna have to find really good spots to put it in and really good ways to draw aggro away from it. Like I said, this thing has an increased range, so try to treat it more as a sniper. Do not throw it near enemies at all, or put it somewhere where they aren't aiming. And biggest tip is watch out for patrols. Use your radar before you place this thing down. Now, one last thing for this video against bots and bugs, one gun that was buffed that I think actually might shake up the meta a little bit is the grenade launcher. Now, the grenade launcher received a 50 damage buff, which that doesn't sound like a lot, but I will just show you a list of enemies and how many grenades it takes to kill them now. Brood commanders, devastators, Gunships, although good luck aiming at gunships with a grenade launcher, bile spewers, and stalkers all take 2 shots now. The grenade launcher is also notably good at taking out tanks and cannon turrets because you don't need to hit the heatsink, you just need to land close enough to them. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because it used to take 3 grenade launcher shots for all these enemies, so now it does way better at mobbing. For all you grenade launcher enjoyers, it really wasn't bad before, but it wasn't great, but now it's pretty freaking solid. Now, what I will say is the grenade launcher really is a mobbing weapon. It's more of a support. It doesn't really deal with hulks too well, doesn't deal with gunships that well. I would say if you're loading into a bot mission and you see someone else bringing this, maybe don't bring it that match. You probably don't want more than 1 grenade launcher on your squad. But if no one else is bringing the grenade launcher, I would recommend it because it will take out packs of devastators insanely fast. Obviously bring the supply pack with it. Now in general against bugs, I think it's much stronger because there are tons of densities of mobs. It'll 1-tap all the small bugs and 2-tap the bigger ones that I named. And it doesn't have the worst charger kill ever. Another thing worth noting is a lot of people don't know this, but the grenade pistol uses the same exact grenade as the launcher, and it was indirectly buffed by this. Most of you guys don't realize this, so even if you don't use the grenade launcher, I know everybody uses the grenade pistol. So keep these numbers in mind if you're facing these different enemies. And in general, I think the game changed a lot in this patch for the better. I think some people find it more difficult because it's different. There are some new enemies we have to fight against, and there is some new difficulty we have to get used to. But overall, the game isn't necessarily more difficult. I think there's just some new tools you want to be trying out. And I'm pretty happy with the Orbital Gatling Barrage against both factions. I think the Eagle Strafing Run isn't as good against bots, but it is pretty solid versus bugs. I just wanted to share these initial tips and tricks I found because I'm enjoying these spawns of the new enemies in this patch. And of course, I'll be experimenting with much more stuff and much more content coming soon. So be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out.